Have you ever wondered what truly happens when a promise is broken? Not a casual one, but a vow whispered beneath the stars. A pledge made before the unseen forces of the universe. Throughout history, humanity has feared the weight of spiritual oaths. Ancient priests would tremble before swearing one. Secret initiates were warned that breaking their vow could unleash forces far greater than any earthly punishment. And in many traditions, it was believed that the soul itself could fracture under the burden of a broken word. Because an oath is not merely words spoken aloud. In the language of the esoteric, it is a binding thread woven into the tapestry of destiny. When you swear an oath, you are not only declaring something to yourself or another person, you are signing your name in the invisible archives of the cosmos. You are calling upon unseen witnesses, your higher self, ancestral spirits, perhaps even divine intelligences that silently watch over the path of souls. But what happens when such a sacred thread is torn? What forces awaken when a person dares to break what is spiritually unbreakable? The consequences are not always immediate, nor are they always obvious, but they ripple through the subtle layers of existence. Some traditions say that breaking an oath poisons the aura, creating fractures in the energy body. Others suggest it attracts trials, karmic lessons, and even entities that feed on broken promises. In this journey, we will explore the hidden meaning of oaths, the ancient wisdom surrounding them, and the profound consequences of breaking them. From mystical traditions to psychological truths, we will uncover why the universe treats oaths with such gravity, and how understanding this can transform the way we live. Now, let us step deeper into history and uncover how spiritual oaths were regarded by the ancients. To understand the gravity of breaking a spiritual oath, we must first travel backward in time, into temples, sanctuaries, and secret schools, where words were not taken lightly, and where silence itself was often considered safer than a careless promise. In the temples of ancient Egypt, initiates of the priesthood were required to swear oaths of secrecy before being entrusted with sacred knowledge. These vows were not mere formality, they were life-binding. To betray them was to risk spiritual annihilation. The Egyptians believed that a broken oath did not simply dishonor the gods, it disrupted Ma'at, the principle of cosmic balance. An oath breaker was seen as one who disturbed the very order of creation, and the consequences were thought to echo into the afterlife. In ancient Greece, the seriousness of oaths was equally profound. The river Styx, feared as the boundary between the mortal world and the underworld, was often invoked as a witness. Even the gods themselves swore by the Styx. To break such an oath was to risk divine punishment, for it was believed that truth itself was bound to these promises. Hesiod the poet wrote that when an oath was broken, the soul of the liar lies breathless, and the gods punish without mercy. The Vedic traditions of India also echo this theme. In the Rig Veda, oaths and vows are deeply tied to Rita, the universal order that sustains both cosmos and society. A vow was a contract with the universe itself, a thread woven into Dharma. To break it was not simply to commit a personal failing, but to set oneself against the law of existence. Such acts were believed to create karmic repercussions spanning lifetimes. The Hebrew Bible also warns of the weight of vows. In the book of Ecclesiastes, it is written, "When you make a vow to God, do not delay in fulfilling it. He has no pleasure in fools. Fulfill your vow. It is better not to vow than to make a vow and not fulfill it." Here, too, the theme is clear. The danger is not in silence, but in speaking rashly before divine ears. Across cultures, we find the same thread. Oaths were not casual utterances, but sacred contracts, spiritual bonds that tied the individual to forces greater than themselves. From Norse warriors who swore binding blood oaths to the secret initiates of the Pythagorean school who vowed never to reveal their master's hidden teachings, the message was always the same. An oath is a covenant between your soul and the eternal. Why was this taken so seriously? Because words are not simply sounds. In the ancient worldview, they are creative forces. The Egyptians called it Heka, the power of speech that could shape reality. The Hebrews spoke of the dabar, the word that brings worlds into being. The Greeks referred to logos, the divine order made manifest through speech. When a human being makes an oath, they are wielding this creative force, binding themselves to a destiny by the very breath of their being. And so, when such a vow is broken, it is as if a sacred vessel is shattered. The energy once directed toward creation is now scattered into disarray. Ancient wisdom warned, the oath does not simply vanish when broken, it transforms, often into a weight, a shadow, a chain that follows the soul until balance is restored. With this understanding of history and philosophy, we now step into the deeper mysteries. What actually happens, both spiritually and psychologically, when a person breaks such a vow?
When we speak of breaking a spiritual oath, we are not merely speaking of broken promises between people. We are speaking of a rupture in the very fabric of the soul's alignment with truth. To understand this, we must explore how oaths work, not in the mundane sense, but in the metaphysical sense. An oath functions as a binding contract, but unlike legal contracts written on paper, spiritual oaths are inscribed upon the subtle body, the energy field that surrounds and permeates every human being. Imagine it as threads of light weaving through your aura. When you make a vow, a new thread appears, glowing, humming with intention. It binds not only to your conscious mind, but to the deeper layers of your being, your unconscious, your karmic path, even your higher self. This is why oaths feel so heavy. When you say, "I swear," you are invoking more than your own will. You are calling upon the unseen witnesses of the universe, your ancestors, your guiding spirits, your inner essence. They all lean in and listen. Some traditions even say that angels or cosmic intelligences record your oath in the eternal archives, the book of life. Whether metaphor or reality, the symbolism is powerful. An oath anchors you. Now, what happens when you break it? The first thing to understand is that an oath broken does not simply disappear. Energy, once set into motion, must continue its course. The thread does not dissolve, it frays, it twists, it tangles. Imagine weaving a tapestry only to suddenly yank one thread away. The entire design warps. This is how a broken oath acts upon the soul. It distorts the pattern. 1. The fracturing of integrity. Integrity means wholeness, and when an oath is broken, wholeness is lost. Think of integrity as the inner alignment between what you think, what you feel, and what you do. An oath holds these three in balance, like a tripod. Break it, and the tripod collapses. This is why many feel a strange heaviness, shame, or disorientation after breaking a serious promise. The soul knows it has fractured itself. 2. Energetic poisoning of the aura. Mystics across traditions have spoken of how lies, betrayals, or broken vows leave stains upon the aura. This is often described as a darkening, a heaviness, or a crack. Some clairvoyants describe seeing oath-breakers with fractured light patterns, as if parts of their aura are bleeding energy. This is not punishment, it is consequence. Just as a physical wound bleeds, so too does a spiritual wound leak vitality. 3. Attraction of karmic balancing forces. Breaking an oath sets imbalance into motion, and the universe responds to restore balance. This is often called karma, but not in the simplistic sense of good or bad, rather it is cause and effect. Imagine throwing a stone into a still pond. The ripples spread outward. A broken oath is such a stone, and the ripples manifest as challenges, losses, or lessons meant to awaken the soul to its imbalance. In some cases, the repercussions may not be immediate, but may unfold across years, or even lifetimes. 4. The birth of the shadow contract. Here lies a deeper mystery. When an oath is broken, it does not vanish, it transforms. Some esoteric traditions call this a shadow contract. The vow, once luminous and aligned with truth, becomes inverted. It begins to bind the soul not to light, but to shadow. This is why ancient texts warned so strongly against careless oaths. They feared the soul could enslave itself to forces it did not understand. In practical terms, this can look like repeating negative patterns, sabotaging one's own progress, or unconsciously attracting situations that echo the broken vow. For example, if one vows fidelity in love, but breaks it, the shadow contract may manifest as repeated betrayals, either by oneself or by others. If one vows to serve truth, but chooses deceit, the shadow may bind them to environments of lies until they learn the cost of dishonor. 5. The echo in the subconscious mind. Psychologically, breaking an oath implants dissonance deep within the psyche. This is why people often feel haunted by guilt, regret, or unease, even years later. The subconscious does not forget. In Jungian terms, this creates a split in the personality, a wound in the archetype of the self. Such a wound may give rise to recurring dreams, compulsions, or inexplicable fears. 6. The call of redemption. But the story does not end in doom. The breaking of an oath, though severe, often becomes the very crucible of transformation. The weight of the broken oath can awaken the soul to deeper truths, forcing a reckoning. Some mystics even suggest that the universe allows oaths to be broken precisely to teach the power of responsibility. Like a child that touches fire and learns its heat, the soul that breaks an oath may learn humility, discipline, and reverence. To illustrate, consider the story of the Knights Templar. Many of their vows were bound in secrecy and obedience. When they were forced, under threat of death, to betray their own order, the consequences were immense, not only historically, but spiritually. Some say their downfall was not only political, but karmic, the unraveling of oaths broken under pressure. And yet, from their fall, new wisdom traditions emerged, hidden teachings that still inspire seekers today. The broken oath became a seed of transformation. Thus, in part 1, we see the essential truth. Breaking an oath is not a mere act of lying. It is the rupture of a sacred thread in the soul's tapestry. It poisons the aura, fractures integrity, and births shadow contracts that echo through time. And yet, within this wound lies the possibility of redemption. For only those who know the gravity of broken vows can truly understand the sacredness of keeping them. But this is only the beginning. In the next part, we will dive deeper into the hidden nuances of broken oaths, the role of ancestral memory, the way collective oaths affect entire societies, and the paradox of whether it is ever spiritually right to break an oath.
If part 1 showed us that breaking a spiritual oath is like shattering the thread of destiny, then part 2 reveals the hidden complexities, that oaths are not always simple, not always individual, and not always meant to be kept forever. The deeper we go, the more paradoxes we uncover. Number 1, the weight of ancestral oaths. Have you ever felt as if you were bound by a promise you never made? Many mystical traditions speak of ancestral oaths, vows taken by one's forebears that ripple down the bloodline. For example, a family might have sworn loyalty to a deity, a king, or even a secret order. Though centuries pass, the energetic bond lingers, shaping the lives of descendants. When such an oath is broken in later generations, the consequences are amplified. It is as though the karmic debt of many lives collapses into one. Some people report feeling inexplicable burdens, illnesses, or repeating misfortunes until they consciously address these inherited vows. Shamans and healers often perform rituals to release ancestral contracts, symbolically freeing the living from the broken bonds of the dead. Thus, not all broken oaths are our own. Some we inherit, unknowingly carrying the weight until the moment of reckoning. Number 2, collective oaths and the fate of societies. Oaths are not only personal, they can be collective. Entire civilizations have risen and fallen on the strength or weakness of their vows. Consider the Roman Republic, whose senators swore oaths of loyalty to the state. When ambition and betrayal shattered these vows, the republic dissolved into empire and bloodshed. Or take the biblical story of Israel, where covenants with the divine were viewed as national oaths. When the people strayed, prophets warned that famine, exile, and conquest would follow. Whether literal or symbolic, the message remains: when collective oaths are broken, the fabric of society itself unravels. We see echoes today. Nations swear oaths in the form of constitutions, treaties, and declarations. When these are betrayed, chaos often follows. In this way, the metaphysics of broken oaths is not confined to individuals. It shapes the destiny of nations. Number 3, the paradox of liberation through breaking. Here lies one of the most mysterious questions. Is it ever right to break a spiritual oath? On the surface, the answer is no. Yet history is full of moments when breaking an oath was not only necessary, but sacred. Imagine a monk who swears obedience to an order, only to find that the order has become corrupt. Is he condemned for breaking his vow, or redeemed for seeking higher truth? The Bhagavad Gita presents a similar dilemma when Arjuna refuses to fight in the Great War. Bound by his duty, his oath as a warrior, he hesitates. Krishna tells him, "Abandon all duties and surrender unto me alone." In other words, there are moments when divine law surpasses human vows. The paradox is this: sometimes breaking an oath in the material realm is necessary to uphold a greater spiritual truth. The cost is still real, the fracture, the karmic ripples, but it may also become the very doorway to liberation. Number 4, oaths as chains of the ego. Another nuance: not all oaths are sacred. Some are chains forged by the ego. A person might swear, "I will never forgive," or "I will always hold power over others." These are vows too, and to keep them is spiritual poison. In such cases, breaking the oath becomes an act of healing. Mystics warn, however, that even destructive vows carry energy. To break them requires conscious intention. If left unconscious, the broken vow may still generate shadow contracts. But when broken through awareness and ritual, the release can be profound. Like unlocking a prison door the soul had forgotten it locked itself inside. Number 6. The cosmic record, oaths and the Akashic field. Esoteric traditions often speak of the Akashic records, the subtle archive of all thoughts, words, and actions. When you make an oath, it is believed to be etched into this record. To break it is to create a discordant entry, a fracture in the script of your life. Some mystics describe this as a resonance that follows the soul across lifetimes. Even if the conscious mind forgets, the record does not. This is why individuals sometimes feel drawn to situations where old vows echo back. Why a person swears never to betray, yet lives life repeating betrayal in many forms. The broken oath calls them back, again and again, until balance is restored. Number 7. The alchemy of broken vows. But here lies the greatest secret. A broken oath, too, though destructive, can be alchemical. Like lead transformed into gold, the very act of confronting the wound of a broken vow can awaken hidden power. The soul learns humility, the recognition of its limitations. The soul learns reverence, the understanding that words shape worlds. The soul learns compassion, the ability to forgive itself and others for inevitable failures. Some mystics even say that the soul chooses before birth to take certain oaths knowing they will be broken in order to catalyze this transformation. The fracture, then, is not an accident, but a design, a fire in which the rough stone of the ego is polished into the jewel of wisdom. Thus we arrive at a deeper truth. Breaking an oath is not simply a failure, but a moment of destiny. It can bind the soul to shadow or liberate it into light. It can fracture the psyche or awaken deeper integrity. It can curse a lineage or free generations to come. In this paradox lies the essence of the mystery. Every oath is a doorway, and whether it opens to chains or wings depends not only on keeping it, but on how we awaken when it breaks. In the next section, we will move from philosophy into practice. We will ask, what can you do if you have broken a vow? How can you heal the wound, untangle the shadow contract, and transform the fracture into light? We have walked through the history, the metaphysics, and the paradoxes of spiritual oaths. But the question now becomes practical. What can you do if you have broken an oath? And perhaps even more importantly, how can you enter future vows with awareness so they become anchors of light rather than chains of shadow? The ancients never left us without guidance. Hidden in the wisdom traditions are methods of purification, healing, and transformation. Let us explore them step by step. 1. The first step. Conscious acknowledgement. The most dangerous wound is the one ignored. Many carry the weight of broken vows without ever naming them. They feel inexplicable guilt, heaviness, or fear, yet cannot trace the origin. The first act of healing is acknowledgement. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and ask yourself, what promises have I broken? To myself, to others, to the divine. Do not judge what arises. Simply notice. Awareness itself begins to unravel the shadow contract. To speak it aloud, even if only in prayer, is to bring it out of the darkness and into the light of consciousness. 2. Ritual of release. Words bind, and words can unbind. In many traditions, rituals of release are used to dissolve broken oaths. The fire offering. Write the vow you have broken on paper. Speak it aloud, acknowledging the break. Then burn the paper in a sacred fire, asking that the energy be transmuted. Fire, the great purifier, consumes and transforms. The water immersion. In other traditions, water is used. Whisper the broken vow into a bowl or river, and then submerge your hands or even your whole body, symbolically washing away the energetic residue. The breath invocation. Some mystics believe breath is the key. Inhale deeply, call the broken vow into awareness, and exhale with force, imagining the threads of shadow unraveling and dissolving into space. These rituals are not mere symbols. They are actions that signal to your subconscious and your higher self that the contract is being rewritten. 3. Making amends in the physical world. Spiritual healing cannot be separated from the material. If your broken vow involved another person, making amends is crucial. This may mean apologizing, returning what was taken, or offering a form of restitution. The ancients called this restoring balance. Even if the person cannot be reached or has passed on, you can make symbolic amends. Offer prayers for their well-being, or dedicate acts of kindness in their name. What matters is not perfection, but sincerity. 4. Invoking higher assistance. There are times when the weight of a broken oath feels too heavy to bear alone. This is where invocation comes in. Across traditions, seekers have called upon divine intelligence, angels, or ancestral spirits for aid. A simple invocation may be, "I call upon the light of truth to release me from the shadow of this broken oath. May what was bound in ignorance be unbound in wisdom. May my soul be restored to wholeness." Whether you invoke Christ, the Buddha, the Divine Mother, or your own higher self, what matters is sincerity. The unseen forces respond to intention. 5. The practice of conscious oath-making. To prevent future wounds, one must enter vows consciously. Ask yourself, is this oath truly aligned with my highest values? Am I swearing out of fear, ego, or pressure, or from love, truth, and clarity? Is this vow necessary, or can I simply act with integrity without binding my soul? In practical life, this means resisting the casual "I swear" or "I promise" unless you truly intend to uphold it. The less you scatter your vows, the more powerful your words become. 6. Transforming shadow contracts into light contracts. If you sense that a broken oath has created a shadow contract in your life, perhaps through recurring negative patterns, then you must consciously rewire the vow. For example, if you once swore, "I will never trust again," and that vow now poisons your relationships, consciously declare, "I release the vow of distrust. I now vow to honor discernment while allowing trust to flow where it is earned." If you once vowed, "I will always sacrifice myself for others," and it has drained you, declare, "I release the vow of self-sacrifice. I now vow to serve others from fullness, not emptiness." By rewiring the contract, you redirect the energy from shadow to light. 7. The daily practice of integrity. Ultimately, the best way to heal from broken vows is to live with daily integrity. Integrity does not mean perfection. It means alignment between thought, word, and deed. Each day ask, am I living in harmony with my truth? Simple practices help. Keep your word in small things. If you say you will do something, do it. Speak less, listen more. Reserve promises for what truly matters. Practice inner honesty. Do not deceive yourself about your intentions. In time, integrity becomes second nature, and the soul grows strong, resilient, whole. 8.
the path of compassion and forgiveness. Finally, one must learn to forgive. For many, the greatest wound of a broken oath is self-condemnation. But the universe is not interested in eternal punishment. The purpose of consequence is awakening, not despair. Forgive yourself as you would forgive a child learning to walk who has fallen. See the broken vow as part of the soul's education. Extend this compassion to others as well. When you encounter someone who has broken their promise to you, see them too as a soul in the fire of learning. Forgiveness does not mean naivety. It means release. It means refusing to chain yourself to another's shadow contract. In this way, both souls are freed. Closing the practice. If you have broken an oath, know this: you are not alone. Every soul has. The great mystics, saints, and sages all walked through the fire of broken vows before finding the light of wisdom. What matters is not the fall, but the rising. Take time to reflect, to purify, to realign, and when you next speak a vow, let it be with reverence, as if your very breath were shaping the stars, because, in truth, it is. With these practices, the burden of broken oaths can become the fuel for awakening. The wound can become the doorway, and the very thread once torn can be rewoven into the soul's tapestry, stronger and more luminous than before. Now let us move into the final stage, the conclusion, where we will gather all these mysteries into one final, powerful reflection.
Throughout this journey, we have walked through the sacred chambers of oaths, seen their power in history, felt their weight upon the soul, and traced the shadows they cast when broken. What began as words whispered in trust, love, or devotion reveals itself as something far greater, a spiritual contract, a thread woven into destiny itself. We learned that an oath is not simply a promise. It is energy, intention, breath made sacred. When aligned, it strengthens the soul, anchors integrity, and calls forth unseen allies to witness and support its fulfillment. But when broken, the thread unravels, creating wounds in the aura, birthing shadow contracts, and calling forth karmic lessons that echo through time. And yet we also discovered the paradox that even broken vows are not the end of the story. They can be the very catalyst for transformation, the fire in which the ego is burned away so that the true self may rise. An oath broken may feel like a curse, but it can also become an initiation, forcing the soul into the alchemy of humility, responsibility, and renewal. This is the wisdom of the ancients. They did not treat vows lightly, nor did they despair when they were broken. Instead, they gave us tools, rituals of release, acts of restitution, invocations of higher help, and above all, the daily practice of integrity. These are not relics of forgotten ages, but living practices that can heal our modern wounds, restore balance, and remind us of the sacred power of our words. So, what happens when you break a spiritual oath? The universe shifts, the soul trembles, the shadow awakens, but so too does the possibility of redemption. What matters most is not the fall itself, but how you rise after it. Do you remain shackled by the shadow contract, repeating cycles of guilt and betrayal? Or do you step into awareness, heal the wound, and rewrite the vow in the light of truth? Perhaps the deeper teaching is this: every oath, every vow, every word we speak is a seed. Some seeds grow into radiant trees offering shade and fruit. Others grow twisted, entangling us in thorns. But all seeds are teachers. And even the thorn bush can teach us the value of discernment, patience, and care. As you leave this teaching, take a moment to reflect. What oaths have you made, knowingly or unknowingly? Which have you kept, and which have you broken? And what lessons are they offering you now? Do not rush to judge yourself. Instead, see the broken vow as a mirror, showing you where your soul is still learning to align with truth. See the kept vow as a testament to your strength in integrity. And above all, remember that the power of the word is still yours, waiting to be wielded with reverence. If you are ready, perhaps you will even choose to make a new vow, one not of fear or of chains, but of liberation, a vow to walk in integrity, a vow to honor the sacredness of your words, a vow to forgive yourself and others, knowing that even in breaking, the soul can be made whole again. This is the secret hidden in plain sight. The spoken word is a force of creation. When you speak, you weave. When you vow, you bind. When you break, you are given the chance to mend. And in the mending, you may discover a strength far greater than before. So let your words be sacred. Let your promises be few but true. And let your oaths, if you choose to make them, be vessels of light rather than chains of shadow. Because in the end, what happens when you break a spiritual oath is not only a tale of consequence, it is also an invitation to awaken, to restore, and to step fully into the power of your word as a divine instrument of creation. The question is, will you accept it?